Hello everyone, and welcome to part 6 of our online car sales training video series. My name is Timothy DeJesus, and I'm the CEO of Dealer Masters LLC. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the test drive and what impact the test drive can have on your ability to make a sale. So why is the test drive important? Well, during the test drive, you have the ability to do two things. Number one, you have the opportunity to start to establish a good relationship with the customer during the test drive. And number two, the test drive is typically where people begin to take mental ownership of the vehicle. So let's get right into it. So let's talk about a few of the best practices that I've seen and recommend during my time in the car business. So the first recommended best practice is that you go on the test drive with the customer. Now, I've seen many dealerships hand customers keys, put a plate on the back of the vehicle, let them ride and come back. This is fine. That's your practice. I don't discourage it. It's you run your businesses however you choose to run your business. What I will say, and why I believe this is a best practice, is number one, I've seen many things go disastrously when people don't go on test drives with the customer. And what I mean by that is, first of all, a car can get stolen, and I've seen it happen. Second of all, the customers may really not like the vehicle, and you can't get a good gauge of that if you're not with them. So sometimes I've seen people come back from test drives, hand the keys to a salesperson and say, "Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day." That's the end of your sale. So at that point, you've really lost the customer, and you don't know what went into their decision because you weren't with them. Now, along those same lines, if you go on a test drive with a customer, you have the opportunity to build a relationship with a customer during the test drive. So another best practice is to talk less about the vehicle and talk more about the customer or customers themselves. The reason I say this is because up until this point, you've been talking a lot about the vehicle, what they want out of the vehicle, what their needs are, and then you've done a product presentation. If you go on the test drive, now you can cut loose a little bit and start talking about yourself and the customers and begin to build a relationship. So it's another reason why I suggest you go on the test drive with the customer. Now, if you do a great job with building a relationship with the customer, again, in our last video, we talked about building value. So at this point, if you're building a relationship, you're building value in yourself. What this allows for you is when you do get to the point of negotiating on the deal, if the customer likes you, number one, they may be willing to pay more. Number two, they'll also be willing to hang with you. Even if they don't like your price, they'll be willing to at least stay in there with you and say, you know what, let's negotiate, as opposed to just saying, thank you for your time, have a great day. So that's why building a relationship is so important. And the test drive is a great opportunity to build a relationship. Also, during the test drive, this gives the customer the ability to begin to take mental ownership of the vehicle. So if you've done everything right up to this point, you've already built value in the vehicle with your features and benefits product presentation. Now, they already know that the vehicle fits their needs, and they're beginning to think about taking this vehicle home and what it would be like having ownership of this vehicle. So if you're doing all the right things, these steps that we've talked about in these last two videos are really where the majority of the selling occurs in your sales process. A few other quick best practices I wanted to discuss about the test drive. One is that you should also know your surroundings. So if the customer wants to take the vehicle on the highway or just on a few side roads, you can navigate around your dealership. Another best practice, though, is that you should have a test drive route, which is a controlled environment for the customers to take a test drive in. And the reason a test drive route is important is because if you take customers on an unplanned route and they hit a pothole and they just don't like the way the vehicle felt, it could affect their decision making when it comes to purchasing the vehicle. So it's best to have a controlled route, but also know your surroundings if the customer wants to deviate from your controlled route. Now, these are best practices for your typical new car or used car sales process. With that being said, if you're working with somebody who has less than perfect credit, you may want to pause on the test drive. The reason I say that is because if a subprime customer, meaning somebody who has less than perfect credit, decides to test drive a vehicle before their financing is actually arranged, and when you go to actually work through the financing, they can't get approved for the car that they selected, well, now they may have fallen in love with a car that is no longer valid based on their budget. So it's important to know what type of client you're working with before you move forward on the test drive. So if you have a subprime customer, just know that going in, you may want to adjust your process slightly. And this is something we're going to talk about in a later training session. But just understand these are best practices for a typical sales process. In the scenario where somebody has less than perfect credit, you may want to adjust your process just slightly. So let's recap. So the test drive is a great opportunity for you to build a relationship with your customer and also for the customer to take mental ownership of the vehicle they could be purchasing. I recommend you drive with the customer in the car as they're taking a test drive so that you have the opportunity to build rapport and get a little bit of feedback on how they feel about the vehicle. Also, I do recommend having a test drive route, but being able to be flexible within that test drive route. So if you're doing all of these things, your test drive should be going pretty smoothly, and also you should be gaining a lot of credibility within your sale if the test drive is going right, to the point where hopefully the customer is ready to purchase that vehicle today. So that concludes part 6 of our online sales training video series. Stay tuned for part 7, where we're going to talk about the presenting of the financial figures on the vehicle. Thank you for watching, and I truly appreciate your time. If you like what you've been seeing, don't forget to like and subscribe to Dealer Masters LLC on YouTube. Thanks again. I hope you have a great day.